you haven't watched part 1 of this series, the Write a Task A essay with me that I posted 2 weeks ago, then make sure you go watch that one because I did the prompt analysis in that video. This week we're doing the introduction or the first paragraph of the Task A essay, and the theme is on technology. I'm a bit nervous. We're essentially going to write right now the next part of the essay in this video live. I'll walk you guys through it. Don't know how it'll go, but let's see.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. A hard time if your motion is still. Then he moves some things around because the lyrics is ill.
Okay, so picking up from last week, I analysed that set of prompts on technology. Essentially, I boiled it down to what my thesis was going to be. I wrote a plan. I kind of wrote what my 2 premises were going to be. That is what the points of my first and second paragraph were going to be, and the idea of the essay. And the thesis, the conclusion that I came to was that I believe that technology has changed our social structures and the way that we live, but it will never change what I think it means to be human, and that is to think, to feel, to be a conscious being, and to have the qualities about humanity that I don't think technology will necessarily ever properly change. That's the idea, at least. We'll see how it goes. So we're just going to start writing straight away. We'll get to it. I'm not sure how long this will take, but yeah, I'm going to walk you guys through how I write my introductions. Actually, sometimes I write my introduction last because it's easier to hash out what body paragraph 1 and what body paragraph 2 will be. Because it's easier to kind of hash out your ideas sometimes. So I would think about writing your introduction last if I were you, but for the sake of like congruity for these videos, I'll just do the introduction first and we'll see how it goes. I can always edit it later. Okay, so my thesis that I came to last time was that technology has changed our social structures, but it will never change what it means to be human, that is to think and to feel. My body 1 is going to be about how technology has changed Western democratic society's social structures, the rate of productivity and social progress, and my body paragraph 2 is going to be about how technology cannot change what it means to be human. To love, to hate, to feel, to fear, to think, these are primitive, raw, unchangeable biological things that make up our existence. Okay, so going off that, I mean, my first sentence in my introduction is always a hook, something to like grab the reader's attention to. Oh, by the way, if you want to learn more about my structure and how I write Task A essays, I go through it all in detail in the course, the theory behind it, how to actually do it, what your essays need to be composed of. But this is just an example. So if you want the juicy stuff, sign up for the course. I'll start with a hook, and I think I wrote one up further. Yeah, so it's here. Planes, trains, and automobiles, these were just the beginning. So I'll just pop that down here. We'll add a nice little heading. Okay, so I've got the first line of my hook. I'll probably expand on it a little bit more. I like my hooks being like 1 to 3 sentences, kind of dragging them out a little bit to set the scene. So my first sentence is planes, trains, and automobiles. That needs a comma. These were just the beginning. Okay, let's start. Okay, that took a while. I'm a little bit rusty, but essentially I wrote kind of 3 sentences or 4 sentences for my hook. And they go, planes, trains, and automobiles, these were just the beginning. The invention of the steam engine transformed our ability to migrate. The moon landing sparked inspiration for possible futures. The smartphone found a new home on the bedside table. Technology has taken over. We love it, we make it, and we want more of it. Okay, so the next thing I do after I've written my hook is write my context or like a scope or an outline or introduction to the theme. And I've already kind of started it here, and I've started it with a definition of technology. So I've said technology, a broad word for any machine created by humans to assist with a range of tasks, macro or nano, has formed the backbone of modern society. I think that that's kind of enough, actually, to be honest. I'd probably, I mean, that's an acknowledgement of the theme as well, which I try and do, which is about the power of technology, how it's changed the world that we live in. And I'm really speaking into number 2, which was my prompt, which is that technology has forever changed the world we live in. Our phones and computers have become reflections of our personalities, interests, and our identities. So yeah, I always try and make sure that I'm sticking to the prompts and to the theme as well, because it's critical that you acknowledge the prompts in GAMSAT essays. And yeah, I think I've done a good job of that, at least good enough. So now I'd add a little bit more in the context as well if you feel like you need it. But I think I'm going to also acknowledge the scope in my signposting, which is when I address what points I'm going to be talking about in the body paragraph. So let's just write that now. So the first one I think was how technology has changed our social structures. The second one is it cannot change what it means to be human. Okay. Okay, so I've written my signposting sentence, which is kind of like my acknowledgement of what I'm going to say throughout my essay. Signposting is really important because it kind of preps and primes the reader for what you want to say later on, to allow them to expect what you're going to say without kind of like throwing it at their face without much preparation. So I always kind of say what I'm going to say throughout the essay, just in a brief 1 or 2 sentences. So I've said, although technology has changed the social structures of Western democratic societies, particularly the rate of economic productivity, the normalcy of social relationships, and our capabilities as a species, it will not change the essence of what it means to be human, to be conscious living beings capable of free thought and feelings. This is what separates us as a species and is what has given rise to a sense of species superiority, the common belief or sense that humans are the superior species. Now, I think the problem that I've encountered here is that my points are quite similar to my thesis, and because my points are, number 1, that it's changed our social structures, number 2, that it will not change what it means to be human, and then my thesis is that technology is like that in a sense. So I might have to change my thesis a little bit and develop it here. I find that it's much more powerful to finish your introduction with like a strong thesis that isn't exactly what your points are, because your points are supposed to prove your thesis. So I'm just going to do a little thinking and see if I can come up with a thesis that's a little bit different from my points that my points will prove. Okay, I think I've come up with a thesis, and I'm a bit worried about the potential flaws in the argument, because I've decided that my thesis is going to be that technology has immense potential, but so long as it does not change the human essence, our status as free conscious beings, its potential will be limited to the essence unto which we provided, the human one. So I'm trying to say by that sentence that technology will be limited to the kind of thoughts and feelings and actions that we are able to conjure. And I'll explain that more throughout. But I think my point is that although it has changed our social structures, it cannot change our essence, and therefore it might change how we live, but it's not going to be able to change everything about us, or take over. Yeah, I've got some hashing out of that to do, definitely. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this. If you want to pop your thoughts in the comments below, then help me out, maybe alter the argument for me, and I can keep on working through it next week. But essentially, that's the structure of my introduction, which I assume is what you guys are going to be finding most helpful. That and like the style of my writing and the way that I structure my sentences and the kind of language that I use. But essentially, that's the structure that I use. I use a hook, I write about the context, I signpost, and then I write my thesis for my introduction. Like I said before, there's way more about this in the course, so if you want to get to know that much more, then sign up for the course. But yeah, that's what I could come up with at the moment. I think it's okay. I mean, in terms of the structure, I think it's got it all there. It's got a good scope. I've limited it to Western democratic societies. Hopefully it's got a bit of a good hook, but I think there could be some further developing of the argument to do. So I'm going to think about that over the next week. I'll read some of the comments that you guys post, and yeah, I look forward to writing the rest of the essay. If you have watched up until now, thank you so much. If you're not subscribed already, feel free to hit that subscribe button and chuck this video a like so I know that you guys like this sort of content. But yeah, other than that, I'm looking forward to finish writing the essay, and I'll see you for the next video very soon.
So girls, move it around. If you see your main dog, get the